Miami fans trolling Florida State for using the portal a lot, but they went from 5-7 to 10 wins and now playoff hype while also currently out recruiting us. If it works, it works.
All right, so let me give the full background because, like, this is a good question because it covers all the bases. But let me give the chapter and verse so everybody understands what we're talking about. David Lake at Inside the U wrote a piece talking about the fact that there's going to be, 7 to potentially like 10 freshmen, true freshmen, who play major roles on the Miami Hurricanes football team this year. And at the end of that article, a free article on InsideTheU.com, not a sponsor, could be, but you scroll down, and he then spoke about the fact of how Cristobal is developing and deploying players he's recruited versus Florida State, with 16 of their starting 22 players this year on offense and defense are transfer players who've transferred into that program. And the majority of, the guys who even played as freshmen previously under the Norvell regime were then run off for other guys. Stating facts, right? And then, one of the Brendan Sinone, one of the Knowles 247 writers, got butthurt about it. And then Andrew Farrelly, who just knows how to throw gasoline on a brush fryer, he did just that and everything. And people have been going back and forth, basically saying, like, why would you go to FSU? Because all they're going to do is like continue to ramp up the portal. And remember, like, Miami was like the first major team to really lean into the portal under Manny Diaz. Wrote about this, talked about it, all this stuff, but then said, hey, we really need to level this and bring our recruiting and development up because we can't keep just having the replacements or a mercenary squad. And the statistics put forward by David Lake are without, or, beyond reproach. Like, he's not lied about anything in saying that, 85% of their starters are transfers. Right. And basically, it's just a different paradigm because Florida State has not really recruited as well as Miami, but they're also leaning into the transfer thing. Now, this year, currently, they do have a higher rated class at this time for the 2024 cycle. True. Yes, indeed. Could that change? Absolutely. And all those kind of things. But, again, if you're looking at what Florida State did, and I do not fault them for this because I would love it if Miami did this. They beat the teams that were on their schedule in front of them. That happened to be a lot of bad teams last year, including Miami. When you look back at it, now looking into the season, you're like, Miami's going to be good. And and simply wasn't the case. Regardless of any of that, though, they went out and handled the business, right? Good for them. But it's just speaking to a difference in the paradigm of building a program that continues to be focused on transfer additions and players as opposed to as like the major foundation across the roster, right? As opposed to sprinkling in a couple here and there and developing around that. For example, I'm not saying that Miami hasn't gotten any transfers. 2 of our starting 5 offensive linemen, Javion Cohen and Matt Lee, are transfers. But who's playing around them? Guys who have been here. Akeem Mesidor transferred in, but the other 3 defensive linemen who are going to start were here. Did we need to go get multiple guys in linebacker? Absolutely. Hopefully, Wesley Basaint is the starter next to Francisco Malagoa. But even if he is, KJ Cloyd is going to play big numbers at that position. So 2 of your top 3 linebackers. Yeah. And you get, one of the Brown brothers, Devontae, and then you get Damari and everything. I get it. I'm not saying that we're without transfers, but it's just the way that we're using them and how we're developing the guys who have been here, because the guys at the top of Florida State's roster pretty invariably are all transferred. And then Farrelly, as he followed up, because he's one of those, well, I'm just going to say this and let it go, but that happens like 8 times. Florida State's top 6 or 8 draft prospects are all transfers. Every single one. I think it's the 5th of 6th or the 7th of 8th, whichever the next to last one on Miami's list, is the only transfer, that being Javion Cohen, right? So you're just looking at these things. So if it works, it works. Yeah, I do think that it was a measure of smoke and mirrors, because they really did hit a year where they ran into a lot of bad teams, including Miami. But and this is why they're trying to lean into that last point you're talking about. Well, they currently are out recruiting us, yeah, in this class and everything, but like Miami's been doing this for a couple of years.
Falconer TRX showing up. Appreciate you. Good to see you. And thank you for the contribution, as always, Falconer TRX. Very good, very good. All right. I have got to say that I don't have anything else. Is there anything else you think needs to be hit on? I'll do a little Miami of Ohio prep next week and come prepared, and we'll do a little preview there. Not that you folks want to hear a whole lot about the Red Hawks, but we'll dive in a little bit.
Yeah. Talent acquisition is the name of the game. Portal High School, winning is winning. Started, you couldn't recruit in person. I mean, okay. All right. But when all of your transfer guys leave, so all these guys at the top of the roster that you brought in, you're going to do that. And again, I've been talking for years. Florida State, now they're doing well in some of these, but Florida State is still playing all these away games and recruiting. And I get that, yeah, you're going to get some more transfers is what you're going to do, but isn't that what we were talking about? But talent acquisition is the name of the game, also development. And again, I gave y'all credit and said you beat the teams on the schedule in front of you. I've never said anything else. Like it, love it, or hate it, that's true. You can go back and look at all the videos. I've given the credit where it's due. I say, hey, maybe they beat some bad teams, but the thing that I will never say or controvert is that you beat those bad teams, including Miami, by 6 touchdowns 2 years after we beat y'all by 6 touchdowns. I have not said anything contrary to that. So, hey, and, to the point of you couldn't recruit in person, that was a thing that everybody struggled with in the 2020 class. So, seems a little whataboutism, but.
What?
The question, in case you're listening to this later, will the 2024 election cycle affect Miami recruiting? I'm sure that there's a way that you could probably make a connection there. I don't even know what's pending in terms of NIL legislation or other kinds of things. It is possible. It could. I don't know that there would be a direct correlation per se, but I don't know. But whichever way it goes, I hope that it affects Miami's recruiting in a positive way, because Lord knows we could use the boost right about now. Let me tell you.